Hi, my name's Zach Angela, and I just wanted to kind of go over some of the stuff I guess I've been kind of working on or understanding or however you want to call it. Basically, I've been working more on the neural network stuff on top of the tagger stuff. Um, so, what does that mean, sort of? Um, well, kind of what I've been getting so far is have a neural network that trains to tag the words and does like comparison stuff. I have another neural network that tries to pick up word similarities. Eventually, I got to use that for kind of understanding maybe like roles of words, however you want to do it. And really, what it's doing is getting slices of the sentence and then trying to find out what's the most similar word within those slices so that it begins to understand the shouldn't totally say the context of the sentence, but the context of what's being looked at, I guess you could say, or at least some kind of pattern. The pattern or similarity isn't entirely used right now for anything, but it's just a way for me to build up or learn how to make the neural network pick up patterns and maybe try and improve them with training data. Still need it to actually do something. But beyond that, I've made some updates, I guess you could say, even if it doesn't entirely do a whole lot on top of what it did. It does as far as neural networks and learning. It doesn't as far as like a command to actually do something. I just need to have it collect or understand that those similarities to then be able to do something with that context. And that's just something I'm working on. It's the second part of whatever it is I added. They're not directly connected right now, but it's just me, you know, mulling over what I should do or could do or whatever. And I also added a bunch of flags so that if somebody wanted to use this and train a different way, um, they could. And so these flags are just for the model is just whether or not you're going to save and reuse the model. Epochs is just how many times it goes over it. Learning rate, in size, vector, window, max grad, and then similarity threshold. It you can have it get pretty accurate with the similarities if you make it work slow enough or enough times or whatever you want to call that, hard enough. As you can tell, it's going pretty slow, but it's really reworking things and calculating them. And you got to remember, a lot of this is for just creating the model. It's not using the model, and so those are two different things. I didn't work that into this yet because I'm just learning. I'm just putting things together, and sort of, eventually I'll have some that begins to understand things, or at least you can use it for something like that. See, as you can tell, the similarity threshold gets better the more you increase certain ones of these, but obviously, as you've seen, can take quite a bit longer too. Whereas if you just did the default, and this is just one epoch, and so obviously it's not going to train very well. This part of it is the next part that I'm kind of working on. That again, it's not quite connected yet. It's just it's a whole nother, neural network. Maybe eventually I'll work it in as just a layer. But for right now, I'm having it sort of well, it's not even entirely using the tagging yet. I just put it on last night to try and kind of fiddle around with whatever's going on. It does take in training data of its own. Um, I'm trying to get to, yeah, the CRF model. And it's just a way to, you can take certain sentences and kind of begin to calculate using the labels and everything some kind of context. And let's see, number of words, labels. It's an attempt at, again, I guess you could say pattern matching in a sense, beyond just tagging. And it's like it's not even being tagged right now, so it's not even there yet. But it's just another neural network, another way to make a pattern out of whatever the heck's going on. Why have that? Well, learning, and then B, also I want to be able to do something with the original neural network that just understands the similarities of words, or is training to be. So then once you get the similarity down, or the model, and then you can pump sentences through it, you can then use the tags from it and the similarity to then, either build some kind of vocabulary, or maybe another layer on top of that does similarity, or begin to pull certain words with that similarity, so that, let's say you want to make a command to, like I was saying before, generate servers or handlers or data structures or whatever. You can have it begin to understand something more than, oh, I just have a bunch of similar words. And so it's very much linear right now. It's very much it uses a lot of math and a lot of ways of doing things, but it saves it into a GOB file. But it doesn't understand the similarity. Like, it gets the similarity, it just doesn't know what to do. It doesn't do anything with it right now. And eventually I want to work that into context. Because the thing is, and like I said in my other videos plenty of times, is that, like, you don't want to do it by indexes. You don't want to do it by specific words that you're just pulling out. You don't want to do it by just order of 2 words, 3 words around it. I want something, or am in the works of trying to build something that my end goal is, when I write a piece of code that can filter something, it knows what I'm talking about, or it can get the context of what I'm talking about. And so, like, I guess there's a small example that I was already using. The tagging, where it does POS tagging, NER tagging, phrase tagging, and dependency relation tagging, I can use those tags to filter out certain words, maybe for the neural network or whatever. I mean, obviously this is hard-coded crap. But eventually I want to be able to get it down to where I don't want to have to write any of this whatsoever. I'll just write some kind of function, or filter function, or feature set, or whatever it is, and it'll basically know what I'm talking about, or what I'm trying to filter, or what I'm trying to search for, or whatever it is, without having to write it all out. Why is that important? Well, that's important because you can begin to not have to worry about the details of exactly what you want. I mean, obviously it comes down to building on top of things, but like I was using the tagging example. If I want to filter out words that are just the, is, there, whatever, words that just, they don't exactly have a whole lot of meaning, I can use certain tags or whatever that would mostly cover those words, or maybe phrases, and then I just don't have to worry about those words anymore. I don't have to write out a big switch statement for the, there, is, he, she, I could just write a function and it'll generally know what I'm talking about, and I'm already kind of using that. So it's self-helping, but it's code that knows what I'm talking about, instead of me writing the code so that it can, at a ground level, have to be told what it has to do. And then, yeah, it all generating commands and everything like that. So basically, as a rundown, even though it's not complete or anything, this is generally the neural network. This is the tagging, I guess you could say, for the neural network. So it's not tagging itself. I mean, it is tagging, but it's utilizing tags in order for the neural network to learn. So, and it also pulls in tags for it to compare. So that I think I already went over on a video. And this is the neural network to calculate. One of the hardest things that I was dealing with, and I think I even mentioned this before, was the augmented data and the masked inputs and everything. Again, this isn't perfect. I'm sure I'm doing a little bit wrong. But why have masked inputs? So everything with neural networks is about inputs. I guess you could say calculating things, and then there's an error amount, and then you try to rework the numbers to lower that error amount. Well, if you have masked inputs, it's words, but they're numbers, representations, and you're doing the same thing, but you may randomize it a little. You may shake things up, and those masked inputs, you're putting in more logic in order to lower that error amount so that you can get a better, more clean output. The same thing with augmented data. That's generally what you're doing as well. You're using data that isn't the real data. See random index, and you're using data that is a representation of numbers, but you're reworking the equations to lower the error amount, so that when you do a comparison, your error amount can then be compared to the augmented masked error amount, so then it can rework that error to make it even more efficient. Basically, to a certain degree. Maybe not. This ain't a real world version of it, but it's an attempt. So yeah, and I will say some of the problems I was running into was I wasn't exactly having the greatest error handling. And so when I was mixing and matching these masked inputs and regular inputs and this augmented data, and then inputs have to be a certain number, the hidden inputs have to be a certain number, all these different things had to be, like targets and everything had to be within the same range, or at least less of. You can't go over the index. And it kept putting up bad errors because I didn't do correct errors. And so actually it turned out I'd removed the actual regular inputs, and it was just giving me bad output data just completely. And I was like, I really screwed something up. But I didn't have very good error handling. I didn't put that in there. And so I waste a lot of time. So when you get kind of greedy with some of this, trying to improve things or make them more efficient, you can really waste a lot of time because you're trying to rework stuff and it, you may have screwed up. Um, I did use the LLM a bit too as well, the Gemini, only because I didn't go to school for any of this or anything. I don't have any PhD or any of that. So, masked inputs, sure, that sounds neat. Um, a lot of this stuff I knew of it. I read about it. I reread about it. I tried to boil it down with LLMs, and then kind of had to rework stuff, and then had to use it to try and figure out some problems I had. Um, yeah. So I was trying to use whatever I had at my, you know, fingertips in order to be able to work out what's going on and why and so on and so forth. Um, as you should too. Just because it's a good learning experience. I may not be totally correct, but it's a way to be able to learn, build, put the rubber to the road, and then you may have something that's extremely useful. Why would you not do that? Um, so yeah, that's kind of what I've been working on. That's why I've been working on it. There are a lot of terms I didn't really use, and you could really look them up, and there's just countless videos on them, like the word tuvec and all that. It's just another way to make patterns out of these strings or numbers that represent the strings. Um, and knowing how to weld these ways of doing things is what it's all about. The fine details aren't exactly incredibly important unless you're like a researcher who makes whole new ones, or makes it 10 times more efficient or comes up with a completely new way of thinking. But otherwise, it's pretty standardized. If there's tons of videos on it, it's standardized. And no dependencies, which is great. Or at least I think there is none. Wait, let me see if I actually. Oh, yeah, I gotta take that out. Speed dump. Speed dump is just a way to print stuff. That's for debugging. OMAD. Wow. GoMad vendor. Yeah, no dependencies to vendor. None throughout the whole project. It is a clean, straight go project, no dependencies. I used LLM to help me, of course, but the great thing about that is I don't ever have to worry about not working. It's always gonna work. And when I get it to finally understand the context of the similarity of words, I can then have it generate code, and Go doesn't change very much. And as you can tell, when I change things and then I rerun it, it does it all really, really quickly. So I can iterate through these models really, really quickly. So yeah, there's a lot of good sides to this that been just absolutely fabulous. I've been using the IDX editor from Google, and I'm on a Chromebook because I don't want to deal with updates or blue screens or remembering how I configured my editor or whatever stuff. I just, why? I need to work on the models and iterate through them and have them run really quickly and get the input, output, input, output, and just iterate, change. I just don't want to have to deal with all the other stuff that people like to deal with, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, that's what I've been doing. That's why I've been doing it. And I probably make some future videos on maybe going more toward what the stuff literally means more, or maybe parts of it, um, or maybe step through the program. I think I already made this video long enough. All right, if you have any questions, please let me know. All right, thank you.